Are we rolling? Oh, okay. Welcome to the top five podcast. We got your hosts, Lars Fun, maybe Dutch Boggs. I don't know.
Usually they start the pod in the middle of a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems to have been a pattern.
Yeah.
Homer knows this. He's listened to every episode, right, Homer?
Oh yeah, he's the biggest fan.
Yep. Every episode, I'm an avid listener.
Mm-hmm. Like on repeat, usually, sometimes, right?
Don't tell this to any of them, but I still don't know who's in the top five. I don't know any single. If you asked me, I would not get a single person right, except Dayman, maybe.
Oh, that is going to be a question that we'll have to ask once we've started, obviously.
We're not actually waiting for Wheezy, right? That was a joke.
No, that was a joke.
Yeah.
On account of him, like, being...
It's a bit because only 4 of the top 5 actually do the podcast, but
right,
Griff is like spiritual fifth.
Oh, I know. Griff
Man,
just...
I'm so bad at this.
We could introduce Homer as Griffy.
No.
Nah.
No. The whole point is that it's the Homer podcast.
I'm not going to refer to you guys by any specific names. I'm just going to respond as if you are all one generic person.
That's brilliant.
I think I'm just gonna be me.
B.
It seems like a lot of the yes, thank you.
That's great.
It seems like a lot of the prep that like Chalk was thinking of is that we just be ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I was planning on doing.
Yeah, that's a good way to go.
All right. So if anybody's ready, we can just kind of.
We gotta figure out for the 4 of us that are not Homer. How do we figure out, or what's the draft order? When did y'all get picked?
For our top 5?
Yeah. What pick did you guys go at?
You have to look it up.
I was
round 2.
I was a number 4 overall.
I was 31.
I unsuccessfully submitted my application to join, and so I was picked up in free agency.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is Hanny, me, Robbie, and then Weller.
Correct. And then Wheezy was whatever he was.
Wheezy's the 5th.
Number 1 overall.
He was the last pick. Well, no,
yeah,
he didn't even get picked, did he?
80.
Striker had the chance for us to have 69 picks, and ruined it.
How dare
I'm gonna consider that the start right there. So I'll make a note. Let me just make sure. That's fine. Oops, lost pod. Okay.
So today on the Top 5 podcast, we have one of our favorite baseballers and a recent Hall of Fame member, Homer Nocker. Well, everybody welcome Homer to the podcast.
Welcome,
No,
Homer.
I will not welcome Homer to the podcast.
Congratulations.
Did you get a hole in
fair
one?
enough.
I did.
Somebody got a hole in one. Oh, Brian, of course.
A Homer in one?
Yeah. I'll only acknowledge Dub L. Tapper.
Hear you. All right, Homer. Let's.
I don't have my family tree pulled up. I think he's my cousin. I forget.
Yeah.
Homer, let's cut through the crap cake here. Hog boys. What's up with that?
Mm-hmm. Well, if Ugo would actually let me run a team, that would be my team.
Google won't let you run a team.
We need to go through the top five.
Oh,
The intro to the podcast.
Well, no, I'm gonna make a theme song because they use a theme song now.
You mean we use a theme song now?
Yeah, we use a theme song now.
We've always used the theme song.
Well, we still have the intro bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Just go around and introduce ourselves like usual. I'm Hannibal Bly.
At pick 31, I'm Brian Taylor, hitter for your Atlanta Braves.
Should I've mentioned, I was the number 4 overall pick and GM of your defending champion Tampa Bay Devil Rays. We'll throw that in there too.
Yes, that is indeed how the intro works. Now we move on to the next guy in the order.
This is my first time on the podcast, but it seems like it might also be y'all's first time on the podcast as well.
No. We're professionals.
Every week? This is a weekly podcast, right?
Oh, that's
correct.
Yes, every week. Definitely every week.
We've had something like 52 or 3 episodes by now, I think. We're getting pretty good at it.
Yeah, like a whole deck.
We can make playing cards of all of the episodes
Plus,
that we've made.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you.
No, that's Belatro.
Anyway, I'm Walter Weller, and I am the GM of the Pittsburgh Pirates, having one of the record worst season starts of all time.
Oh,
Yeah, 0-4 right now, is that right, Weller?
We are 0-4. Yes, we are.
that's all right.
Are you having a good time, though?
We're actually having a lot of fun in the clubhouse. So
Vibes are good still.
Sweet Arksy is he's having the time of his life. My sweet boy.
He's a special guy.
So the Hogtown Hog Boys. What inspired you to come up with that name?
Is that everyone? I thought there's one more.
There's probably one more.
Right, our fifth host, Wheezy Whifflesworth.
Yeah, Weezy couldn't make it because he never does.
That's right.
That's true.
Whenever 2 or more members of the top 5 podcast shows up, there's always Wheezy Whifflesworth in our hearts.
He's always in our hearts and minds.
That's right.
Let's impress.
So Uga won't let you run the. So Uga won't let you run the Hogtown Hog Boys, huh?
No, he won't let.
Rightfully so.
Where is Hogtown?
I think it's in all of our hearts.
Special.
Is that all of our hearts one word? Is that hyphenated?
It's
Robbie, I can take you to Hogtown.
Oh my!
Buy me a couple of drinks first, Weller.
Don't you worry.
So we know that the Pirates are 0-4 right now. Homer, the Twins are
we're
sitting
1
at
and
3.
3.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Thanks for bringing it up. Let's talk more about my failings this season as a GM.
I don't know if I'd call it your failings, but how are the vibes in your clubhouse? Maybe not the start of the season you wanted, but how are things going in there?
Oh,
Do we?
I don't know. I just assumed you did.
Well, I meant you see me visit there every day, so obviously I'm well aware.
That's true.
Yeah.
Vibes
all Eddie
are
ever talks about
still good. I think. I hope. I don't know. It seems fine to me. I wouldn't say they're up per se, but they're not like horrible.
Down in the
There's
dumps.
still a lot of fake baseball to play this season, guys. There's still a lot of fake baseball to play.
That's true. We're finishing up session 4 as we record this, I think. So
yeah. How's Art? I know there was a mention of Art today, and people didn't know who he was. So
There
how's
was.
he
Cope
doing?
didn't know who Art was, which kind of makes me sad.
Well, yeah. How long's Art been gone now?
From Maine, like 3 years probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
been a
think
while,
I was
I know.
the main
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I was just thinking because when they talked about Art being gone from Maine, I mentioned something about like that I've been correcting his spelling mistakes for 6 years, and I thought about that, and I was like, I know Art longer than I've known like any of my current coworkers. Which
Yeah,
I can't
it's,
tell if that's like really sad or like really good, but
I'd put that in the good column for sure.
I don't know. You don't know Art like I do.
I mean, aren't MLR teammates just a different kind of coworker?
You know, I like to think of them as my subordinates, not coworkers. We're not on equal footing.
That sounds healthy. Yeah.
that tracks.
You think that I became the GM of the Twins so that I could be on equal footing with the players?
Yes.
Well, then you don't know me at all.
Is there a standout on the Twins who you think is the most subordinate?
Unfortunately,
Clamps.
not. The honest answer to that question is me. I'm the most subordinate of myself. I frequently
always do
try
what you
to
tell you're supposed
start
to do.
rebellions against me, and they will not have it.
That actually tracks.
Yeah.
I have been trying for years to get someone on this team to like lead a revolt against me and get me mutinied, and they just will not have it.
Interesting. So you can't even fail right. That's something.
I know. Everything I do is wrong.
So I guess while we're talking about MLR, what is your favorite MLR moment in your? You've had a long big baseball career. Congrats on the Hall of Fame nod, by the way.
Thank you.
What's been your favorite moment over your career?
Oh, it's my long illustrious career where I've had many incredible moments.
But if you had to pick one,
Well, I'm not going to say the one that I mentioned in the chat because it's technically not an MLR memory. That's just a general fake baseball memory. And also maybe not something that I'm supposed to like share that often, even though I think it's very funny. I would say, I mean, winning the Paper Cup was a pretty good feeling for sure. Season 7.
Definitely pretty fun.
Immense.
Can confirm.
That was because I don't want to sound like cocky here, even though I don't mind sounding cocky. But like that whole playoffs, it just kind of felt like we were gonna win. Like I don't know, it never really. There's never really a moment in that playoffs where I was like, "This is tight. Like maybe we'll end up dropping this one." Even if the games were close, I'll be honest, I don't remember how most of the games went, but like just something about that season just felt kind of special. And so then when we're getting down to that last out, it was just like, wow, this is like actually going to happen.
I remember that game very well. That was a tough one.
It was fun for some of us.
I mean, we had some fun. Hearts broken at the end. The one thing that always sticks with me with that is in the Twins server, do you guys have like a shadow ball, like a ghost ball thing?
Yep.
We have one in the Met, and that last inning, I would have hit 3 homers off of the Twins pitcher.
Yep.
And I swear to God, every time I think of that Paper Cup, that was
yeah. I kind of have a running beef with our Shadow Ball bot because I
I
swear,
was just about
anytime
right
I'm
now.
up to bat, if I go off of what it tells me to do, it'll be like a 500 diff. If I go off of whatever it tells me, it'll like nail it perfectly. It doesn't matter what I do. It is always trying to screw me over.
Homer, are you a rotation GM or are you a pinch hitter?
No, I play every game. I am not a pinch hit GM, nor will I ever be.
All right.
I mean, that kind of matches up with his philosophy of making everyone subordinate to him.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Again,
It's
I did not become a GM so that I could ride the bench.
fair enough.
Sorry.
Fair enough.
Actually, I want to go.
I
I want to
did.
rewind. I want to change my answer from favorite moment. I don't care about the paper cup. That actually means nothing to me. My favorite
Okay.
moment was when
Okay.
we beat Houston 22-2.
Oh, that was fun. That was a fun game.
That is undoubtedly the most fun I've ever had in a game in MLR in my life.
It was 22
When
to
was
2,
that?
you said?
It was 22-2. That was
Amazing.
season 4, I believe.
Oh, I remember that game
It
happening.
was like 4-5 or something, or 4-3 maybe. And
yeah, I remember that game happening.
I don't even know what happened in that game. I don't know why we were hitting so well, because definitely at that point we were not like really scouting or doing anything. I mean, we were an expansion team. We didn't really have anything going into that game. So we just were, for some reason, hitting really, really well. And it just kind of kept spiraling. At one point, Kim Heechel stole third base. He stole second and third base, and we were already up like 12-0 or something.
Wow.
But he didn't even really, I don't think, realize what the score even was. So he was just stealing because he wanted to.
Just decided he had to go.
And then the Houston GM, Sam, got so mad that he put himself in the game to pitch instead and just kind of like did not pitch any better than anyone else did.
Oh, no.
And that just kind of made him even more mad. It was a good time.
Yeah, that was season 4. Season 4 was the Wild West. That was the first season. That was the same
also
season
my first season.
That was the season that then Ikna, now Sky, pitched us pitched us the number 420 4 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No fucks given.
I don't think any new players can truly appreciate what. I'm not trying to sound like an old man here, but those early seasons of MLR, and I know like there were seasons before season 4, but like season 3, season 4, even parts of season 5, it's just unmatched in like, I don't know, craziness factor.
Yeah, there was
the COVID era was definitely unique
because it was just so we tied.
Oh yeah.
Ew.
It was just so like, I don't know, active because everybody was just staying at home and nobody was doing anything.
So there was just
and so people were just finding ways. Yeah, just finding ways to be stupid.
Yeah.
Plus, we had crazy park factors and all the other just wild stuff going on. But
well, yeah, was it season 5? We did the chain shots. That was season 4. Was chain shots.
Season 4 was chain shots. Yeah, because I was the GM of that team.
Hey, that's so. For those of you, do you guys? The rest of people.
I'm unfamiliar with the chain shots. It rings a bell. Like I feel like I've heard it, but
so here's another old school. Here's another old school thing. Is back in the day, teams would pair up, and that's how we would get the minor league teams. So we would.
That's right. I GM the Malamutes at the Rangers once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Season 4 and
So-
season 5, we were just talking about this the other day. Season 4 to season 5, I think, were forced pairings, and then
and then season 6 you could pick.
season 6, I think you could choose, and maybe season 7 you could also choose to be solo.
Yeah,
Even
well, I
7,
think
as far as I remember, everybody was paired up, but I think you could pick your pairs. I don't remember what Lom did.
Yeah. And you know what's really sad about all that is that I was the MILR director at that time, and I don't remember what we did.
yeah, I don't know, man. It's even now it's been 7 seasons. It's gonna start to blur together.
I enjoyed doing the forced pairing teams.
I enjoyed it too. But yeah, so the pairing for season 4 was Pirates and Twins, and so our team was called the Caribbean Chain Shots, and the park we played on was the SS Gemini, and we tweaked the park factors to represent the most accurate possible park that it would be if you could play baseball on a boat.
Yep. On a moving pirate ship.
A moving pirate ship, and it broke the game because like the offensive the offense was cranked so high that like any hit at all resulted in like a third base hit at least, and so it was just like
It sounds like you made Daisy Cruiser from Mario Super Sluggers.
More or less, and as a result, then Park Factory's got a complete overhaul in season 5. They're like, yeah, we can't have that. That's fucked up.
Oh, so you're the reason that my MILR team, which ended up also being your MILR team, Weller, didn't get to have fun.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yep. The Twins and Pirates broke it, and then that's why we actually kind of maintain the tradition of, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but every year for spring training, Twins and Pirates get together and we play on the Gemini again.
Yep, we resurrect the Gemini every year.
Fun game.
This year it was actually pretty underwhelming.
And maybe, unfortunately, Weller, maybe that was a sign of the season to come for both of us.
That's true.
You can't score runs on the Gemini.
Yeah, we. What you guys? Was it 3-1 for that game or something like that?
That sounds right.
Because last year I think we won like 6-4 or something. I don't remember. Like, yeah. Wow, that is. I didn't think about that, but that a bad omen for sure.
While we're on the subject of MILR, Homer, you mentioned you were director for a while, and now you are. I don't know what the official title is. Assistant director, assistant to the.
I am a member of the MILR Council, and I think if you want to assign a technical role, I am the MILR media manager.
You're the ship poster.
Yes, correct.
The MILR ship poster is a much more accurate title.
I kind of have whatever title you feel is most appropriate.
We can call you whatever we want, is what you're saying.
Sure.
Awesome. How do you find MILR, and what do you think of the changes that it's kind of gone through over the last? Like, I joined in season 7, which, as we said, was the last season where it was just kind of 2 teams, and the people that would play would be the guys who weren't starting in MLR. But now we've moved to a fully kind of independent structure. What do you think of that? I know what I think, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I said earlier, I do kind of miss the days of forced pairings, because I think there is a level of, it was good to have because I met a lot of people on that Pirates team, like Weller and Matt and, Marjorie Minks and all those people that kind of, I'm still, I don't know, friends with, but still associate with on a little bit basis today, because of those early Twins Pirates teams. But I think you kind of lose a little bit of that now with the draft. Just that, depending on who the GM is, you might end up on a team of people that you historically play on a team with a lot.
Yeah.
But
You're already kind of pals with.
But I mean, ultimately, I think it's been good because we, those early days, you mentioned it. It was a lot of like you have to play certain people on the team, whether you want to play them or not, because the GM has requested that they play because they're not playing in MLR. So it leads to a lot of autos and slow, kind of painful games.
Yeah.
Well, and to bring it back to the long Pirates Twins history, we sort of redoubled our partnership. Was it season 7 that we did the triangles, the Bermuda
Season
Triangles?
7,
6 or 7.
I think, I don't know, because season 4 was the chain shots. Season 5, I don't remember what we were season 5.
It was either I think it was season. I took it. When did I must have taken over season 7. I think it was season 7. But so we got back together, and the reason I bring it up is, if I recall correctly, didn't our minor league GMs get mutinied? Or
Maybe that might be right.
it was
season
Clamp.
7
It was
season 7
it was
was
Clamps
the
and
triangle,
somebody
the Bermuda
else.
Triangle.
Ryan, were you on our team season 7? I don't remember.
I was on the team last half of season 6.
That's right.
But I was your MILR GM for season 5 via the Braves.
Right.
I just pulled up the roster here.
Shout out the season 5 GT Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
I know at one point the Twins, we were the Kerbin Gemini, but I think that was just us on our own. So that would have been season 7 probably. So we might have been the Triangles season 6. That sounds kind of right.
Yeah, that sounds right. But yeah, I think it was Clamps, and then I can't remember who I had, because we each had a co-GM up for that. And they kept not getting lineups in. And I think they got...
Oh, season 5, we were the Fargo Wood Chippers or something like that, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember who we were. Yeah.
But going back to the original question, I guess. So yeah, this isn't part of the question, but I'm just going to talk about being MILR director anyway. I took over that position not even necessarily because I wanted to, but almost out of like necessity, because Tucker Doubt was the MILR director for a bit, at least before me. And I think for those first 2 seasons. And then he stepped down and we didn't have anybody for a little bit, at least. Because I remember they were doing interviews for that position, and I interviewed and was basically like, I will do it if no one else wants to do it. But I had some certain conditions that I wanted if I was going to be the one to do it.
Yep.
Because the big thing for me is like, I want to do as little work as possible.
That's the dream.
Which,
and also,
seeing your announcements seems to go so against that.
Yeah. I just am, I'm so like, I don't know. I know my own limits. I know what that, like the MLR director, or at that time it was MLR manager, what they were doing, what Tucker was doing, he did a lot of, he did basically everything for that league on his own.
Yeah.
It was pretty much just him running everything. And so I was like, I will be MILR manager, but one, I want to have a council that I can assign to do things that don't mind working behind the scenes and will help make decisions. And I won't make any, because at that time, maybe this is still the case. I don't know. I'm not involved with the committee really, but like OOTC had votes in committee, and I know the MILR manager had a vote. And so what I decided was council would vote collectively, and I would vote on behalf of whatever council decided to vote for. On certain...
That's still the case now, but it's just lawns. I think it's just lawns that get votes.
Yeah, that might be right. I mean, that's probably better anyway. I don't know why I had to vote on anything. I also only voted on things that would directly impact MILR. But yeah, I was like, I want a council, and then I basically was like, I also want the ability to, which I already kind of had, but like, I want the ability to change anything about MILR that I think needs to be changed.
So you were the creator of the Miller Council.
I created the council. I also changed the title from MILR manager to MILR director because that was a huge pain, because people would be like, you know, because we'd still call the GMs like managers.
Ready, right?
And so then it just made it even more confusing. The other big thing that I did as MILR director was I got rid of mandatory home run derbies, which I know is an unpopular opinion in this league because everybody loves Dome. And
I loved the Dome, but I'm glad it's also not mandatory anymore.
The issue that we were running into was, you know, season 4 and 5, you definitely had the really slow teams, and games were going full, you know, they were going the full session plus a couple days over, and then we had to wait just for MILR to finish.
And lest we forget, it wasn't always the team's fault too, because that was pre-bot.
Right. Yes, and yes, you had umpire slowdowns and all that stuff. So games were going slow. And so that's why the home run derby was in place, was basically like, once your game finishes, if it's in a tie, you have to go to a home run derby because we don't want this to drag on for, you know, another year while you finish this game. But at least when I took over, teams were, because that's when we started getting away with the mandatory pairings, and it became a bit faster because of that. And so I was just like, I don't think this is needed anymore. And so I got rid of mandatory Dome in extras, unless both teams agreed to partake in.
Yeah, some GMs just want it over, right? They don't really mind.
Some would just do a home run derby, but the issue is some teams would finish in, you know, 4 days, and then they'd be forced to go to a home run derby, and that just didn't seem fair.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's see. What other questions do we have?
If you go back and find somewhere in MILR announcements, you gotta stop tying, Brian. This is getting bad.
This is getting really ridiculous.
Also, Hannibal, you're very bad at this.
I am horrible at this. I'm great at real life mini golf, but this game just does not work for me.
Oh, you guys are talking about I'm the only one off, not on the game. You're right.
Yes, the customary top 5 putt party.
That's right. That I never.
But yeah, if you go back and look in there somewhere, you'll find my manifesto that I wrote of me basically being like, I don't want to have to wait for council, the committee to vote to change these things. So I'm just unilaterally changing the rule book to this. And I did.
Nice.
Well, they'll scroll through the 2,000 messages of you shit posting and MILR announcements to go find that.
Where did that idea come from? Just doing the announcements in that manner.
The announcements?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just one of those, like, I just started typing my stream of consciousness at one point, and then people kind of caught on and liked it, so I just kept doing it.
Do you feel like anxiety doing them now, or like Is this going to be as good as the last ones I did or anything like that?
I don't know about like anxiety for them being good per se because they've never really been good.
It's
But
fair.
So this to a slight delay from your question here, but back before I was MLR director, I did sessionly power rankings for
Right.
MILR. That was like how I got my start, so to speak, in
That was
MILR.
the HNMDRRs or something.
Yeah, HNDMRRS, the Hundmers.
I have
The
found your
Homer Knocker's
manifesto.
definitive MILR rankings and recap. Yeah.
I found
And
your
I did that
manifesto.
every session, and I loved it. They were so much fun to write. But I did notice with that, like every session for the most part, after session 1, they slowly get less and less views, less clicks. And so that the same I've noticed with MILR announcements is usually like that first day, maybe first 2 days is usually a lot of engagement, like a lot of people doing reacts and whatever. And then the next couple days kind of slows down a bit.
Right.
And
I mean, that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to media as a whole.
Yeah, I get it for sure. It just when you're doing it, you guys can, as weekly podcast hosts like you guys are, I'm sure you guys deal with this.
Absolutely.
You start thinking like maybe my stuff is not as good, and that's why I'm not getting as much engagement.
Yeah, big time.
Even though I will say some of those later week MILR announcements, I think are some of my better ones than the first ones.
Well, that's just because
yeah, because I just start going crazy.
Like the stories about your travels.
I have a lot of stories, which
Well, let's talk about some of them.
Oh, you don't want to start that boat. This
No,
will be a 10-hour long podcast.
Let's get into it. You've traveled a fair amount. Germany, right?
Yeah, I studied abroad in Germany. Just one.
Which one?
Yeah.
Ha ha ha! Ho 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 ho!
What's the story there? What were you studying? Where were you?
Well, so I went to Texas A&M University, unfortunately.
Boo.
And
Go Aggies,
listen,
or is that the other one?
Well, was that what?
Is that Go Aggies?
Yes, correct. Go Aggies.
Nice.
You nailed it. Yes, but there's not a lot of Go Aggies in my life recently, considering all my teams have been quite poor recently. But whatever. Yes, I went to A&M. I originally went to school for engineering, but because A&M's a big engineering school, I was going to do civil engineering. That was what I wanted to do. And then after my first semester, actually my first year of college, I had a 1.2 GPA.
Hey, me too.
And for some reason, the College of Engineering let me stay in the college for like another year. I don't know why. I didn't even really take any more engineering classes. And then they politely informed me that I would no longer be in engineering. So I transferred out, and then I eventually ended up in architecture, like a general architecture degree. But I kind of specialized in urban planning. So professionally, I'm a city planner. But my study abroad was for like sustainable design.
Okay.
So that's what we were doing in Germany, was sustainability.
That's cool. So when was that?
That was summer of 2019.
Okay, yeah.
Which coincidentally was Like, I did my study abroad in Germany, and then I was flying back to the States, and while I was waiting to board the plane, I got on Reddit and our baseball, and I saw a post for fake baseball, and I just kind of on a whim just was like, I need something to do. I'm kind of bored, like waiting for this plane. So I signed up to be in MLR.
Pretty cool.
And
The
now
trip
and
to
now it
Germany.
dominates every aspect of your life.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
Which
you did.
I'm lucky. We talked about it being the pre-COVID. It was a great distraction during COVID. That's for sure.
Yep.
I think MLR hit that perfect wave of, we had that big recruitment season 4 because it was an expansion draft, and so we had hundreds of people signed up for fake college baseball, and then we had COVID and everybody was trapped inside, and so now you've got all these people that were already kind of like gung-ho about fake baseball to begin with that are now have nothing better to do than devote their lives to it. So it I think I don't know if MLR, for better or worse, I don't know if they ever could hit that peak again.
No, I think you're right. I think we've seen over the last couple of drafts that there is still, you find the right places and the right people. There's still that kind
For
of
sure.
activity, but yeah, no, I can imagine a time I came in just in like 2022, I think, the season 7, maybe 23. But yeah, I think those days you hear the stories of season 4 and 5 and 6, just it sounds like it was on another level.
I mean, I don't think there's anything like I still like MLR, and I still think we get good people in the draft every year for sure.
100%, yeah.
I think the Twins personally, and I'm sure every team feels this way to some degree, but I can really think of we've had 2 drafts that I think have been very influential on our team. The season 4 draft, which created the team, obviously, but like that's the draft that me and Art were in, ended up on the Twins. We also had so many longtime Twins come out of that season 4 draft that played for 5 seasons or something. Donkus, Kim, others probably.
Salazar, was he in season 4?
Who?
Salazar, Santiago?
No. Well, so Sal, he might have been season 4, but we traded for him in I think still one of the best trades in MLR history. We traded for him in season 5.
Yeah, he won the Cy Young, right?
That when he won the Cy Young.
Yeah.
We traded for him from the Brewers, and we gave up Ping Pong, who at the time was batting like 400 or something. He was playing really well, and Sal was pitching really well, but we didn't need any more hitting, and they didn't need any more pitching, I guess. And so we made a kind of big splash for that trade. And yeah, it worked out pretty well for us since Sal won the Cy Young.
Ping Pong is now back on the Twins, right?
And Ping Pong is back on the Twins. I think once Burrito took over the Brewers a couple seasons later, they ended up cutting Ping Pong, and I snatched him up immediately.
And that's Brick for those who don't know.
Yes, Brick Bruiser now.
Yeah.
So
Burrito.
So back to Homer talk. So your degree is architecture, and
Technically, yes.
and you work as a city planner or something adjacent to that.
Yep, I work for a city as a city planner.
Nice. So what does that entail? Because when I see city planner, I think you're drawing roads and bus stops on a map and stuff. But like, what do you do day to day?
Well, here in Texas, the unfortunate reality, I'm gonna stow my politics away here for a bit. because I have lots of strong thoughts and opinions on things here. But my day to day, really, as I don't, you ever watch Parks and Rec? And that first season, they have Mark Brandanowitz, and he's like, kind of does everything. He just does a little bit of stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I do. Early on in my career, I've been with the same city since the end of 2020. So I've been here for coming on 5 years now. But early on, it was a lot of like approving building permits and reviewing zoning cases and I don't know, miscellaneous things like that that are not super involved. Although my job now has shifted more to like what you maybe call like long range planning, more like forward thinking things of like, what it's hard to say because I'm either going to make it sound way too boring and uninvolved or way more complicated than it actually is. But
Hey, give it a shot.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
long
like we're
range
going
planning.
through most cities will have like a comprehensive plan that kind of I don't know shapes the way that they view zoning policy, building policy, stuff like that. And that's kind of something that we're going through now. And so I'm kind of a big part of that as far as like looking at the needs of the city now and in the future. What are some, trends of growth or what areas are growing? What do we need to focus on certain areas?
Making sure that the services are there in 20 years'
Sure.
time when they're going to be needed, kind of deal, right?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. And making sure that like, the city grows responsibly, that we're not like, I don't know, like allowing a bunch of industrial businesses in right next to high residential areas, that kind of thing. But I also run our historic preservation department.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it sounds better than it actually is. But it's fun. It's cool. Again, trying to leave my politics out of this here, but in the state of Texas, there is a lot of like you can't tell me what to do with my land kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things like historic preservation and other, maybe not zoning, but some other building stuff sometimes boil down to like it's all optional. And so you can only kind of direct them towards the correct way. But whether they choose to do it or not is not always up to you. So like sometimes with our historic preservation stuff, it's like, I imagine it's different in other states and countries. That it's not just like, oh, we've identified this building as being historically significant, so we're going to put protections on it. It's more like, hey, your building is historically significant. Can you please designate yourself as a landmark so that we can impose the little restriction that we have?
Yeah, I grew up in the UK. Obviously, lots of old buildings all over the place over there, and
Right.
I had a few friends whose families or they ended up buying what they thought was just like say a cottage in a village, and they go to repair the roof, and all of a sudden they have to spend like 5 times the amount on the materials because they have to get it to look exactly like the original roof was 500 years ago when it was built.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, I'm kind of in favor of that because it's nice to know that the history is being looked after, but I've never owned one of those properties, and I can imagine it would be pretty annoying if somebody from the city told me I needed to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I see both sides and I get it. I think there's probably more of a happy medium somewhere than than is often the case, but working in local governments, you just learn there are a lot of fights to be had, and not all of them are worth having.
It's a pick your battle situation, right?
Or somebody is having the fight somewhere. I mean, the legislature is always changing and doing things. And honestly, sometimes it doesn't even matter what we decide because the legislature will just come in and overrule us anyway. So
I had a job in Liverpool once. I was selling it's called Sky TV. It's like a satellite TV.
mhm.
You have the dish put on the side of your house. And I was trying to sell to this guy who lived in this house, and he said I can't have a satellite dish. And I was like, "What? Why? Well, why not? Like, there's room. You're facing the right direction. We can put it high enough so it's not in the way of anything." And he said, "No, I can't have it. This house is where John Lennon grew up, and I'm not allowed to change anything on the outside of the house."
Oh wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, cool that you live in the house that John Lennon grew up in, but like, that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, cool house. But wasn't allowed satellite TV because he wasn't allowed to put a dish on the side of the house.
And like you said, I can imagine it's much worse in Europe where, sometimes properties that are unassuming might have some historical significance.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's
here in relatively small town Texas, like we've got random neighborhoods that might be old, but they're not historically significant really in any meaningful capacity. So
back home there's it's called the blue plaque scheme. So if your building is culturally or historically significant, you get a blue plaque to display outside to say so and so lived here and he was the first one to go to India, or this lady lived here and she wrote these books or whatever. And there are some places in England you walk around it and it feels like every other building has one of these plaques because somebody at some point has been significant and lived there. It's crazy.
William the Conqueror pooped here.
What's that?
I said William the Conqueror pooped here.
First guy to step on a stick in London.
They found there was a king, I forget his name, King Richard maybe. They weren't sure where his grave was because he'd been buried and his body had been moved at some point later on after he'd been buried. And in the city called Leicester, I think it was, they were trying to build a new car park, a parking lot, and they were just digging the hole to put the basement in, and they found King Richard under the ground.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're like, what are you doing in there? Get out of there.
Yeah, it was a whole thing maybe 10 years ago or so.
I know when I was in Cologne, or Cologne, as you Americans might call it.
Yeah, us Americans, Mr. Texas. Or should I say
right
Tejas?
by the Tejas. Right by the cathedral that's there. Our tour guide was showing us. We went underground in this parking structure, and just right on the side of it was this kind of open space. And he was like, "You see this pile of bricks? This is a original Roman wall that was built here, however long ago, and they found it when they were building this parking garage."
It's
and
crazy,
so they had
right?
to build around it.
Wild.
I think you might have mentioned that it was Cologne that you went to. I went there. When was it? Maybe 10 years ago now. It's a beautiful city, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, I loved Germany.
Yeah.
Just in general, it was very. I want to go back at some point, but
Homer,
I was in. So I lived in. I was in Bonn. That's where we were based out of, I guess, for the most part.
Home of
we
the
did a
Autobahn.
weekend. The Autobahn. We got on the Autobahn at least once, but I wasn't driving, so. we we were in Bonn for the most part. We did a couple little driving trips, throughout the country. We went to Cologne and the Netherlands for a weekend. I did my own little weekend trip to Berlin because, the Germans especially have a holiday, it seems like every weekend.
Oh yeah.
And so we had like a 4-day weekend one week. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go travel to Berlin because that wasn't on our normal itinerary. So
Nice. What did you think
and
of
then
Berlin?
then we ended in Munich, was where we were for the last week. So
Cool.
Yeah, Homer, are you a numbtot?
am I what?
A numbtot.
Up top.
I don't want to answer that.
It's
Something head, right?
It's a weird Facebook. So are you guys familiar with the concept of weird Facebook?
No.
No.
Uh,
Might be too old for
is
this.
that different than normal Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, like Facebook is like generally like a cesspool of like, boomer memes
Mhm.
and like your aunt awkwardly asking why you don't come to visit or whatever. But there are still a bunch of really bizarre groups on Facebook that like serve very niche things, and oftentimes it's just weird shit. But there's one called New Urbanist Memes for Transit-Oriented Teens,
Mm.
and it's a
Okay.
bunch of like city planning nerds.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now, but no, I'm
Yeah.
not. And
Well, you'd be pretty.
I'll
You'd be a lot cooler if you were.
I'll tell you that me and Lishi, I'm not going to say that we frequently have arguments about this, but she is very they're very anti-car. I know.
Yeah.
And I, being from Texas,
Yeah.
I am anti-car, but also to the most extent that I could be, in that I have to drive every single day to get anywhere and do anything. I'm also originally from Houston, which is like got to be one of the worst cities for walkability and things like that. So I'm very used to having a car. And
I don't know if is it worse than Detroit? Have you ever been to Detroit?
I've not been to Detroit. No.
Detroit, like, so Michigan. I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and Michigan just universally, like, our thing was they purposely made everything harder to be walkable so that more people would buy cars.
I think Detroit maybe has its own problems with what's going on there.
There are other problems too, but like, for example, there used to be commuter rails between all the big cities in Michigan, and they tore them all out so that more people would buy cars from Detroit.
Yeah,
that is very on brand for a place called Motor City, I suppose.
Yep.
Yeah, Detroit. It's French for Motor City.
So talking of Houston, Homer, you're obviously a big Astros fan, is that right?
You can't get me to publicly say that.
Well, we'll act on the assumption that you are an Astros fan then.
Sure.
October 2017, Houston wins the World Series. Where were you? And how did that feel?
We won perfectly cleanly with no controversy, no nothing.
Yeah, let's cast our minds back to just that moment and forget about what we discovered a couple of years later. What were you doing? Who were you with? How did it feel to see your team win it all?
Well, I will give the true answer, which is a sad answer. I was in college. I was watching by myself in my my room of the house that I was living in. I'll be honest, I do not know where my roommates were and why I was by myself, but I know that I was by myself.
They were all at the Astros game without you.
No. Well, maybe, but I doubt it because I don't think any of them were Astros fans. But yeah, I was in my room by myself, just watching the game. And then after we won, I was like, "Yeah, go Astros." And then probably just went to class or something the next day.
Then you
Nice.
never thought that sentiment ever again.
Well, no, we won a World Series again after that.
They did.
Oh, no,
They
no.
did it in
No.
2019, right?
No,
No.
not 2019. Should have won it in 2019. That was the stupid year against Washington that we couldn't win a single game at home. Even though the 2019 Astros team is like still probably one of the best teams we've ever actually run out on a field.
Mm. Well, and you did beat the Rays that year because that last game where Tyler Glasnow was quote unquote tipping pitches.
Yep.
Right.
You have a problem with that?
They kicked it all off, didn't they?
Nope, not at all. I definitely was not upset.
Have you been to Minute Maid Park before?
I've been to Minute Maid, now Daikin.
Oh, they changed names.
Mm-hmm.
I see. What's it like there? I've seen it on TV. It looks like a fun ballpark.
Minute Maid is nice. It's
Yeah.
So you guys might not know this. Well, maybe you do, but probably not. Every year, me and one of my best friends from childhood, we go on a baseball trip where we try to go and see at least one or two new stadiums that we haven't been to before.
Yeah.
So I've seen maybe half the stadiums in the league. I would probably put Minute Maid my favorite. I really liked Camden a lot.
Yeah, I've heard great things. I really want to get down there this year.
Camden has I don't know, just the vibe of it. And we went kind of before the O's were good.
Yeah.
And so it just had a good vibe. Like the people that were there were just having fun. They were doing a lot of on field, antics and people coming up in the stands and doing stuff. And it was just a good vibe all the way around. And the, kind of the park where you can sort of walk around and it's like a street sort of. And there's all these
they've got
little
kind of a neighborhood
shops
vibe thing going on, don't they?
Yeah, it's really nice. I was a big fan of Camden. And I like some of the older parks too,
Have you been to
Fenway
Kaufman?
is nice, but have I been where?
To Kansas, the K.
Yes.
What's that like?
We did Kaufman no, not last year, 2 years ago. We did St. Louis and Kansas City. We flew into St. Louis and then drove to KC.
Nice.
I'm sorry you had to go to Missouri.
I've been worse places. That's for sure.
Have you been to America?
No, I have not been to Comerica. Detroit is, well, that whole area, the Great Lakes kind of area is one that I want to do. I don't know what our plan is for this year, but probably not a big trip.
Yeah, it's a bit of a. I guess you could do. Well, no, there's a bunch of teams around the Detroit area, isn't there?
Yeah, the issue, is getting time off and then actually planning about where. So the first year we did. Oh man, I'm trying to think. 6 teams. We did the whole Northeast, not the whole Northeast, but a lot of the Northeast teams. So we flew into DC. We did 2 games in DC because the Astros were playing. Then we took a train to Baltimore. Went to a game in Baltimore. The next day, took a train to Philly. Saw a game in Philly. Next day, took a train to New York. We didn't see a Yankees game, unfortunately. We did tour the stadium, but the Yankees weren't playing. But we did see a Mets game. We spent 2 days in New York. And then took a train to Boston, and then we spent a day and a half in Boston.
It's a trip. That is a cool trip.
Yeah, that was a really fun trip. It was tiring, but that was a really fun trip.
For sure.
But like I said, the hardest part about that trip was that's 6 teams or whatever that we had to coordinate, actually being able to see games at all of them in the proper time frame. And it just kind of worked out perfectly, except for the Yankees, which we couldn't, we didn't get to see. But honestly, doing a stadium tour of Yankees Park was actually like maybe better than watching a game there. Because we got to tour a lot of stuff that we probably would not have seen normally.
For sure, yeah, they open up different bits for tour groups and stuff. Even like on a game day, I bet they scale the tour down.
Yeah, I'm sure.
While they're getting stuff ready.
Yeah, but they showed us a lot of cool stuff.
Awesome.
Well,
this past year we did Seattle and then flew to San Francisco because I really wanted to see a game at the Coliseum before,
sure.
Before there were no more games at the Coliseum. So
that situation sucks, eh?
It does suck.
If you do Great Lakes, it's actually pretty easy to hit a bunch of them pretty close. Like, so you've got Comerica, and then you've got both Wrigley and Rate in Chicago,
right?
And then the Brewers are only 2 hours north of Chicago.
At a 2-hour drive from Detroit to Toronto as well.
That's true, yeah. So if you started in Toronto, you could hit Toronto, Detroit, both of them in Chicago, Milwaukee, and then actually Minnesota's only like 5 hours from Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's definitely the trip that I've been next looking forward to. But that's another one that's like it's going to take some good pre-planning and making sure we have because
you need to schedule guys to line up.
Yeah, we got to coordinate days off and things like that too. So.
Oh yeah, we love PTO, don't we, folks?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And my buddy, so this year we're not doing anything big because he just started a new job, and so I'm not sure how much he'll be able to take off and whatever. So we're gonna do a much smaller trip this year, I think.
So when did you first start kind of consciously being a baseball fan? Were you very young, or was it something you came across later in life?
Yeah, baseball. I started pretty early. I played like baseball through the YMCA for a couple of years.
What position did you play?
I was a catcher.
Nice.
Which is what I am in MLR too. I've held on to that. I liked catching. That was always fun.
Yeah.
But no, I was a baseball fan at a pretty early age because it helped that the Astros were pretty good when I was a kid too. I remember 2005. Unfortunately, a little too much. It was really weird because they canceled the postseason that year. Actually.
Oh, did they? I didn't remember that.
They did, yeah. Yeah. It was really weird. I don't know why they did.
Was it a strike?
They played through the whole season and got to the whatever championship series. Finished the championship series, and it was going to be the Astros and the White Sox in the World Series, and then they just canceled it.
All the players just got tired and said, "Let's call it there."
Yeah, they just quit. It was really weird.
What year was that?
It was 2005.
Oh.
Yeah. What happened to the Chicago White Sox that year?
Well, I said they made the World Series, but then it got canceled.
They just quit. Weird. Who was your favorite player growing up?
Jeff Bagwell.
Jeff Bags. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Was the Astros, right?
Mm-hmm. He played for the Astros for forever. I mean, he was drafted by Boston, I think. Yep. And we traded for him. But big Jeff Bagwell fan. I have a collection of baseball cards. I collected some baseball cards as a kid, but I have about 7 pages of Jeff Bagwell cards just on his own. I didn't go to his Hall of Fame like actual ceremony, but they had one in Houston, and I did go to that, and I might have cried.
Did
No,
you?
that's how sports gets you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Yeah, he was.
Did you emulate the batting stance? I assume.
No, I'm sure I tried, but that's a tough one to pull off if you're not built like Jeff Bagwell.
Yeah.
What was his stance? Was it a weird one?
He's got a big, wide stance. He stands feet basically like 1 foot at the front of the box, 1 foot at the back of the box.
Oh, geez, I'm looking at
and
it
just,
now. Wow.
It just kind of squats down. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could drive
Like
a
it's-
truck through those legs, huh? Wow.
Ridiculous lift. You know.
Yeah, but
He's a sturdy man. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
if I'm
Wow.
understanding correctly as well, I think he was. I always forget. He was either included in. I don't know. Canseco, I think, is the one that always tries to call him a roid user, but he wasn't in whatever list I think of roid users. But
No, I don't think he was like in the
Genesis,
Mitchell
right?
report or anything.
I think it's maybe suspected, but I don't think he's ever been like formally accused or really like investigated for that, like some other players. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his numbers now. He hit his most home runs was 2,000. He hit 47.
people, this is a take that Astros fans will argue about forever. But I think a general consensus among Astros fans is that Bagwell was probably always the better player out of Bagwell and Biggio.
Really?
Bagwell had, like Biggio was a hitter, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say he's like a hit merchant, but Biggio's big thing was he got a lot of hits.
Yeah, he was a collector.
Bagwell, I feel like, was just a much more well-rounded player who also just mashed a bunch of home runs. But he also could he's your prototypical. He's like a Mike Trout type, I think. That you look at Mike Trout and you're like, that guy's just going to hit home runs, but then he just will kill you hitting it however he feels, and he'll also just steal bases for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how.
Yeah, Biggio was Biggio was the prototypical second baseman, right?
For sure.
Doesn't hit for power, but hits a lot.
Which is funny because he was not a second baseman to start his career.
Wait, Biggio what?
Right.
Biggio was a catcher.
He was a catcher and a center fielder, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Kevin Biggio. His son.
Kevin is.
He doesn't hit. He doesn't hit at all.
He doesn't hit anything.
He barely qualifies as second baseman either.
One of the players of all time, Kevin Biggio.
For sure.
Yeah, that's him. I wonder where he is now. I don't know did he end up somewhere?
Well, he's definitely not on the Dodgers.
He's he made camp with KC this year.
KC, wow.
I don't know if he made the roster, but he was at spring training with Kansas.
That's interesting. Yeah. I kind of thought he ended up back on the Blue Jays.
No, we sent him to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers looks like they sent him to Atlanta, or they cut him, and Atlanta claimed him, all last year.
Everything I'm seeing says he's expected to make the roster.
Good for Kevin.
Good for Kevin, yeah. Bad for KC, but good for Kevin. Kevin Biggio is the origin of one of my favorite baseball tweets. One of the Blue Jays beat reporters put out a status update when he was injured, saying that X-rays came back negative on Kevin Biggio's knee. And someone said, "Oh no, that's terrible." And someone else replied, "No, that's good news." And the first guy said, "Not for the Blue Jays, it didn't."
I thought it was going to be the source, literally us, the Blue Jays. That's what I thought.
That's a good one too.
That one's also great.
Literally us, the Blue Jays.
I don't want to derail this conversation, but how long are we going on this thing? I'm not keeping
Oh.
track of.
I was gonna say, I
time.
think it's about time for us to pivot to the rapid fire questions then and out.
Yep, I was going to say the
If
same
y'all are
thing.
down.
I got some rapid fire questions for you.
I
Tell me
don't
about the
promise that I
Hogtown
have-
Hog Boys.
I've said all I need to say about the Hogtown Hog Boys.
All right.
I have one rapid fire from my 8-year-old niece, Homer. What did you have for lunch, and was it tasty?
I said I had Sonic, not the Hedgehog, the fast food restaurant,
You should be horrified if you ate Sonic the Hedgehog.
and I would never eat Sonic the Hedgehog.
I mean, I'd be impressed that you caught him.
And was it tasty? Sure. And maybe as much as like fast food is able to be tasty. I will say for dinner, if you want a better answer, for dinner I got McAllister's, which is like
Ooh.
a I don't know, deli type restaurant.
Yeah.
And
Please tell me you got the baked potato.
I did not get a baked potato. I got the
Ooh.
jalapeno turkey crunch.
Pick that up.
Tell me about it.
Okay.
What is that? Sandwich?
It's got
Yeah.
it's a sandwich. It's got like a jalapeno ciabatta bread, and then turkey, avocado, pepper jack cheese, I think, and like jalapeno chips on it.
Sounds
pretty
really good. Well,
Yeah,
I will let my niece know. And what that was tasty.
That was very tasty. Yes, that's a
She's
good.
very concerned about whether the food that people eat is tasty.
That's good. I'm glad she's looking out for us.
Yeah. So that's my quick fire question from my niece. What else have we got, guys?
Well, I was
I've
going to
got
ask.
one. I'm gonna.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I'm gonna take a page out of Homer's book. Why is that?
Well, that's a good question. I think when you actually look at it from maybe a bigger perspective, that's when you kind of start getting a better answer. Maybe metaphysically it's a different answer, but at least just from like a rational, logical standpoint, I would say that is what it is. Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Very astute.
So I've got two things I wanted to mention.
You said
Number one.
astute.
Astute.
Okay, well, maybe we have to end there. I don't know. No.
No, I want to hear the question. Give me the question.
Well, number one, who's your starting pitcher for next session?
I don't have the copy pasta in front of me, but I will not be answering any questions regarding starting pitcher this season.
Fair enough. And then the other one is we all know about what is likely your most famous starboard post.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I had to
what's your
think for a
actual?
second because I have so many. But
I know, I was going to
I know which
ask
one you're
what's
talking about.
What's your actual favorite?
My favorite starboard post.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the colonoscopy stuff is pretty good. That's definitely the
Yeah.
most memorable one for sure. I am a big fan also of, and you know, nobody listens to this podcast anyway, so I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit. Sorry, was that mean? Am I allowed to say that?
We've been doing
Oh,
it for 50
dare you.
years.
This is a great
We're
podcast. Everybody
fine.
loves it.
Hmm.
Such great hosts that are here with me today.
So
That
I
well
mean,
practiced.
you're the biggest fan of the podcast.
I am.
Well,
That's
second
true. I've
biggest
watched
behind
every
Zan.
episode.
Shout out Zan.
Yep. But
But the one that always is funny to me that happens pretty much every year is whenever I get drafted in MILR, because I'm always the one that types out all the results. Usually whenever I get drafted, usually it's the Marks team, but not always. I will always type fuck just right afterwards. And that one always makes it on Starboard. And it always kind of cracks me up that it makes it on Starboard. And I just love it. I kind of look forward to it every MILR season of just getting to post fuck when I get drafted. It's just a good moment for me.
It's pretty good.
And I've done it every year, and it consistently it kills every time.
It's awesome.
I just randomly searched colonoscopy in Maine just to see what popped up. And this didn't make it on Starboard, but you did say top 5 live stream of me getting another colonoscopy, which I think that's a missed opportunity.
You're right. We should have considered that.
Maybe we need to re-record this entire episode.
Yeah, Homer, can you let us know when your next one is booked, and we'll tune in from afar.
You know, I don't
We'll
even
book it.
need one, but I'm just gonna go ahead and schedule one right now.
Oh, yeah, just go get one. So
Hey,
I don't know.
everybody
if-
needs one.
I don't know if I want to ask this question, but I'm going to, because sometimes we need to do things that we don't want to do. But how is the butt, Homer?
My butt?
Hey, your butt.
I think it's all right. It's been sitting in this chair for a little too long, maybe. But other than that, it's going pretty good.
Good stuff.
Another fun
After
one.
eating that jalapeno turkey crunch, I'm just going to tell you later today it will not be good.
Well, let me know. Keep me updated.
I will. I promise.
Thank you.
At one point, Homer, you told Hanny, tell your doctor you need a colonoscopy so you can get on Starboard.
I think Hanny's had his fair share of colonoscopies, if I had to take a guess.
And yet it didn't get him on Starboard. R.I.P.
Well, not yet.
I got a rapid fire one for you, there, Big Chief. Hogtown Hog Boys. No, what's your favorite band?
My favorite bands? Well, I don't. Okay, I'm gonna answer this question truthfully. I don't really listen to a lot of music. I know that might be bad. So I'm gonna answer this question not with who my favorite band is, because I genuinely don't know what the answer to that question would be. But I will say I had 3 basically band/artists on my iPod Touch when I was a kid.
Okay.
Those 3 band/artists. One was Reliant K. That's like a Christian rock band.
Oh, I know who Reliant
I know
K
Ryan
is.
K.
Yep.
I had a friend who used to listen to them.
2 is Taylor Swift.
Sure.
Very cool.
And then 3 was Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes.
Nice.
So
I've
that
heard of worse.
maybe sums up everything you need to know about me.
That is an eclectic mix, to put it lightly.
It's a good picture of the man. Homer
And
Nocker.
so that would have been like what, early 2000s, Homer? So that would have been early Taylor Swift, right?
Yes, it would have been country/early pop.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Love Story and White Dress and that sort of thing.
It's one of those things that, like,
probably before Love
maybe
Story,
you
even.
could read into it with Reliant K. But like, I went on a lot of youth trips with my church youth group.
Yeah,
and just being stuck in like a van with a bunch of, junior high school aged girls. That's all you kind of listen to is Taylor Swift. Yeah. And so you kind of either just learned to like it or completely resented it. And I guess I fell on the side of I kind of liked it.
Also, I mean,
listen. I like it, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, also like you know who likes Taylor Swift? Women in your youth group buses. Well, women in your youth group buses that you
also true
as a young man may be trying to court.
Right. You can't alienate yourself completely.
Yeah, you gotta.
And I'll just tell you, Weller, it didn't work. So
well, it never does, but you still try.
Right, you gotta try.
We all gotta try. Yeah.
And I'll just tell you, the Weird Al wasn't winning him over. So
I was
kind of trapped from the start.
No. Listen, buddy, the Weird Al was for you. We're fine. It's okay. I'm a They Might Be Giants fan. That everybody gets one that is just for you.
It Might Be Giants, a good one.
But I like both.
I like both too, but well, that's So if you're not, go.
One more question from me, Homer. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
Nice, nice. Strong answer.
I win. Did I win the podcast?
Yeah. It's
You won the
now
podcast.
officially yours.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's yours.
This
You have to make
podcast, and
it going forward.
all of its property now belongs to you.
It's now the
Congratulations.
top. It's now the top Homer podcast.
Well,
That's right.
I'll be excited to come back next week, and be all 5 people.
Will that be the
Or you can just have
colonoscopy
all 5
episode?
of us as your guest.
I would rather have like good guests on my podcast.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
Harsh but fair. Harsh but fair.
On that note, maybe we'll call it there for the night.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your 100th episode. That's why I was on, right? This is the 100th episode.
We're celebrating the
Yeah,
this is the 10-year anniversary of the Top 5 podcast.
Nice.
That's right.
Thanks. I'm glad that I was able to be the guest on such a momentous special occasion.
We
It
appreciate
was
it.
lovely to have you. And this is the top 5 signing off for a totally normal podcast episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.